I just turned 44, and I got my numerology reading done. And I looked at this piece of paper, and I was in a really good place, but I looked at this piece of paper and just went, oh, so this is who I am.
On today's episode, I'm speaking to Numerologist Samantha Sutherland. We'll be talking about our respective journeys into the weird and wonderful. Then Samantha will talk about numerology, what it is, who it can help, and then do a reading with me so that we can understand a little bit more about how numerology works. Join us now as we begin our conversation. I suppose what the whole point of this exercise is for me is that I just thought anything non-mainstream was a dirty word, like holism was nonsense and all this airy fairy stuff was hippie and stuff, and it's like actually then, as we tend to do, down the rabbit hole I went and just realized there's quite a lot more to things than a lot of us give credit for, let's say. So yeah. I think other people sharing that journey and just a little bit kind of allowing people who are maybe on the fence to A to see not everyone's a complete weirdo. And it's like, yes, we've all gone a little bit woo-woo, but actually where we started from was really quite a normal place, and that actually what we found to be fascinating and real and synchronistic. And let's face it, even if there's no science there, when it all just goes, yeah, that makes sense, like, isn't that in itself a little bit of evidence? Why do we always try and fight that? So
I had a discussion. Well, first of all, I believe that actually this is all just natural stuff that we've been doing for years, and for about the last 100 years or so we just went very science minded and just forgot about it. So a lot of this isn't new, a lot of this has been around forever. We just a whole new generations of refinding, because we're now searching for more than what is available in that traditional medical model. And I'm not somebody who'll diss the medical model. I worked in nursing, so it's not a forsaking all others, do this. We work together and it works together, and there's a time and place. But I remember when I first started training in the kinesiology side of my life, I was still nursing, and my manager went, but isn't it all in the mind? And I'm like, well, then I'm not going to argue any further with you, because if the mind can cure, then you've just argued my case that this isn't all about the physical body. So let's leave it there, shall we? Right. And you can see him kind of go, yeah, I'm not quite sure what I've just sort of said, but it is. When people come in, when I was in the clinic, they'd lie on the couch. I'm like, look, just even giving yourself an hour to lie on this couch, it doesn't matter if I sit here and do nothing, you will feel better, because you've given over, you've let go. So yeah, I completely agree. It doesn't matter how, what or why, as long as what you've experienced was experienced with integrity and honesty, and wasn't a charlatan or someone trying to pull the wool over your eyes and scam you, then it doesn't matter, does it? Does it matter? No.
Doesn't matter at all. It doesn't. I think we take a lot of things too seriously anyway, don't we?
If it makes you feel good,
yeah,
and legal, just caveat that. If it makes you feel good and it's genuinely good for your soul, then how can it really be bad?
I think so. That old saying of "would you rather be right or would you rather be happy?" that really rings true in a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. I think it's that pick your battles, isn't it? Is this an argument is it what you're really going to gain from this, other than be able to go and I won? You've left a friendship in tatters, or you've just had a massive argument with your partner, but you get to say, I won.
Yeah, I was right.
Was it really worth it? No.
No, exactly. And there's so much that we just don't know that we don't know, isn't there? It's just like sometimes I look at not really talking about allopathic medicine here, because like you say, it's quite new and it's really just finding its feet, and I think there is a place for it, and we're still trying to discover what that is. But, you know, this whole kind of like narcissism around everything else is a little bit, you know, it's, you know, that was what, you know, actually, if we're 1,000 years older than we are, and we look at our 20th century doctors and go, oh, you know, weren't they primitive? You know, they're not going to feel very happy about that. So, you know, you always just kind of have to take a little bit of a different perspective sometimes, I think, and go, well, maybe the reason a lot of people and a lot of cultures used it is because it was really good. You know,
yeah, but that said, I also do think that you, as with any industry, you get those, sort of just see my head, you get those people that are, you know, not traditional, the science medicine in the last 100 years, that's evil, never go near it and cure yourself with all this gorgeous hippy dippy woo woo stuff. That's wrong as well. And it, you know, with both industries, with both branches, you've got the extremes, and neither are right, because actually, do you know what, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we were dying in our thousands from really simple diseases that we can,
that we've now found simple ways to deal with it. Exactly. And that's wonderful. Yeah.
Don't have to get into the whole inoculation debate, but the reality is you know, that has happened. So we can all learn from it. But now I think it's like anything, you've got the pendulum swings, and that pendulum is starting just to come back into balance, and everyone can see, actually, do you know what, there's a space for everything. Yeah. And everything's got its specialism. You know, if I break my arm, I'm going to the ER, I'm going to the accident emergency, I'm not going to a homeopath. I might go to a homeopath or to a kinesiologist or something after it's been set to aid healing and mindset and all that sort of nutrition. But I'm going to the doctor to get my arm fixed. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what my numbers say, I'm getting my arm fixed.
Yeah, if my arm broke, it wasn't supposed to break. It was like, let's go and put that back together. Absolutely agree with you. And really, a lot of the you know, the therapies that are around now seem to deal more with chronic pain. You know, it's a chronic condition because actually your body isn't doing quite what it's supposed to, and over a long period of time, maybe it hasn't had the right signals. And quite a lot of that stems from emotional and mental trauma, not just kind of physical things, which really medicine doesn't deal with yet. Yeah. So it's just not, it's just not the same. But anyway, let's not get too bogged down in all of that.
No, it's a place for everything.
I know. Right, well, I want to know, who is Samantha Sutherland? So
I think Samantha Sutherland's still trying to figure that one out.
Let's have a chat about where you came from, because you mentioned obviously nursing. But you started in marketing before that, did you? So how did you?
So I'm a child of somebody from the RAF. My grandparents were RAF or Navy or Army. So I come from a very classic conservative forces-based life. Could not have been further from energy work if you tried. Nothing was around. My granddad was quite spiritual, but in a very kind of quiet way. I think country and western music was about kind of as spiritual as my family got. And then, so I just kind of literally fell into every single job. There was no conscious decision. I ended up working in marketing for 12 years, mainly corporate side. So working for large accountancy firms in their consultancy divisions and stuff. And then I ended up working for a branding firm. And you know, it was great. I loved it. And then I got to that part of my life. I got married. We were pregnant. I wanted something else. And I wanted something more fulfilling. The kind of sexy working in London and dues and running events and all this stuff. I was kind of done. I was done with it. It was not inspiring me anymore. It was tiring. It was draining. I was like, come on, there's only so many ways we can say how good this dog food is. You know, it got really superficial for me. I don't know why, it just did. And so I was like, I want to do something else. And I kind of explored lots of routes and ended up with nursing, and ended up in the field of learning disabilities nursing, which I absolutely adored. I loved it. It's not nursing. People will still come up to me and go, Sam, this is hurting. I don't know. I specialised in communication and understanding and making life better for people. So I'm not very good with the body sciencey stuff. And but my personal life, my husband's a police officer, so I still married into that type of very conservative life. It didn't work. We had a 5-year-old and it wasn't working. So I took a job which I enjoyed, but it's not what I just trained 3 years for. It's not what my little boy had gone to long hours nurseries for. This wasn't it. And I had a lot of abdominal pain, and nobody could really figure out what it was. I'd been told by a doctor that, well, sometimes we just have pain, and I'm like, no, I'm just not accepting that. And me and my mum and my sister quite often would go and get medium readings or card readings whenever there was a local psychic fair, the usual thing. And we were both, me and my sister, like, we need something. I need some direction. I need to understand. We're kind of really lost. And she, through various means, had a kinesiology session, which was the beginning of this for me. So I'll keep it short. But she goes, I want to buy you a session. So she bought me one for my birthday. And I went in and said, this problem, blah, 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 blah. And this woman said to me, it's physical, but it's physical through an emotional issue. I was like, okay, no idea what you're talking about. So she sent me away with some physical stuff, nutrition stuff to do. And then I came back, she went, right, we're ready to do the psychological stuff now. And again, I'm like, no idea what you're talking about. And she goes, a lot of this stems, she goes, not all of it, but a lot of this stems from, there are certain dates. Let's go through those dates. And one was when I moved in with my husband. I'm like, no, that was a really good year. I moved in with my husband, we got a dog. And I was like, oh yeah, but I only moved in with him because I was never going to see him otherwise, because he just joined the place. And then it's like, what about this? And I was like, that's the year I got married. That was amazing. Yeah, but we only got married in November because that was his shift pattern. And then all these dates came up that were generally quite good, but there were nothing that I would have chosen. They were all dictated to. And even though I was aware of every single one, there was no magical surprise. All of a sudden, I was faced with this collectiveness of somebody else was controlling my life. And the funny thing is, I saw my mum, whenever she got a job or promoted, had to move because my dad got posted somewhere else. And I swore that would never happen. And I was in this space that I swore would never happen. And it just blew my mind, the concept that I could be experiencing physical discomfort because this subconscious stuff was going on, that this power had been given away. And even though all of those instances were great, I adored my wedding, it was perfect, but I never in a million years would have chosen November the 24th for a wedding, a month before Christmas Eve. That's not what I would have done. And then that was it. I needed to know more. As it happened, a lot of the pain did go away, but there was actually a physical thing going on as well that I needed some medical intervention with, but by the by. So I explored this whole, what is this? And that got me on the classic journey of 10 years ago, had this, started to look in at studying the kinesiology, enter The Secret, the classic entry book for energy, different world, life. And it just snowballed. And then in came EFT, so tapping, in came matrix re-imprinting, and it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's just my life. I mean, my shelves next to me, crystals, oracle cards, angels, test kits, energy essences, everything, it's all there. And then 2018, just doing it, plodding along, got involved in a diet marketing company. I still use their products, but I couldn't make it work. And I spent a lot of money on trying to make it work and got myself in a little bit of financial stuck. And I wasn't happy. I was very conscious. My husband was struggling with his work. I was spending more money than I was earning. I just got in that really non-good cycle. And a lot of it was because I'd lost my way and I was looking at everybody else going, well, that's working. That's working for them. So I'll do it. And I was chasing the money, had massive comparisonitis, that whole everyone's better than me, or I need to copy them, and just lost me. And then I had a decision, well, what are you going to do about it? Do I walk away from everything? Do I walk away from the diet marketing? And it was like, I can't walk away from my therapy because that's mental. That's just crazy. And I actually went and got a job in a pub to just take that financial pressure off while I got myself sorted. And all of a sudden, my husband's happy. I feel free. I don't have to worry about money. I can focus. And literally within a month, my clients have doubled because my energy was just somewhere else. And then from September 18 to about July 19, so just literally over that year, I was swapping with fellow EFT practitioners. There was EFT matrix or kinesiology, which are all different modalities, getting done every single week. I was really overloading the system, but I was ready for it. So we just did it. So many limiting beliefs, cleared, smashed, understood. And then I was in a Facebook group, and I'll get a numerology done. I just turned 44, and I got my numerology reading done. And I looked at this piece of paper, and I was in a really good place, but I looked at this piece of paper and just went, oh, so this is who I am. And I literally was just, oh, okay, so actually who I am is who I am. This is it. This is it. I don't need to look at anybody else anymore. It doesn't matter. And even today, when I'm doing them for other people, and I'm not going through a rebound, but I'm just trying to clarify exactly how all this mixes together now. I've got an issue with the word healer, and I just keep looking at my numbers, which I'll explain, and go, but you are. You can't get away from what you are. So it just blew me away, and I studied and I trained with the lady who did mine. And I've literally just been doing this for the last 3-4 months. I've done nearly 100 readings. Someone actually said to me, you've done this before, haven't you? This is a past life thing. This is so natural to you. And my mentor also just said, she goes, you've just got it. You just get it. And it just feels like second nature to me. And it's so obvious when you look at it. And now everything I do, I'm like, well, that's your 4, well, that's your 5, or like, you've got 8 in your number. It's just a whole new language. But it's what I love about it is so accessible. Even my husband, who has always had my back and believes in me, but doesn't get what I do, even he, when we've talked about his numbers and my son's and mine, he's like, no, that makes sense. I can get that. So I just love the accessibility and practicality of it. So that, very shortly, that is the journey through. But energy, everything for me is about energy and vibration. It just simply comes down to that. It doesn't matter what area you're working in. If it's crystals, it's the vibration of the crystals. If it's cards, it's the connection of the energy with the message. It's all vibrational energy. Love it.
Absolutely, yeah. And people have their different kind of modalities to find that, and I mean that's what I really want to explore, because a lot of those I don't really know. And it's interesting, like your journey, I mean parts of that, different modalities, but it could have been my journey. And I think that a lot of us who come into this, we start with pain a lot of the time, or whether it's physical or mental, and we're looking for an answer because someone hasn't given us one, and we're the sort of people that go, I don't accept that, actually, because obviously something in here. And the past life thing, I would have gone, absolutely not. I've learned to say I have a completely open mind to everything, so it's like if I was a healer in a past life, and that's how I fell into it, and all of these little journeys that we go through on our way, just to kind of nudge us back to where we should be, and then you fall into it and go, oh, I've learned that in 5 minutes, so clearly that's what I should have been.
I mean, I do believe that everything we do, the skills I gained in my nursing career have made me a really, really good practitioner, a really good I use the word practitioner, it's the best one to do, working with my clients, guiding them and doing that, and understanding how to question them and stuff. I've not done some super duper communications course. It's just basic human skills, and I
comes through your experience, doesn't it? I mean, you can go for a course, but actually you need to learn to talk to people. I did the same because I was teaching singing lessons one-to-one for actually teenagers a lot of the time, for years and years and years, and you get to know how to talk to people. Of course you do. So, but it is like you say, you go through all these different random things, and I'm not going to talk about my life story because this session isn't about me, but it's like all of those random jobs you do, suddenly you go, oh, but that helps me do that bit, and that helps me do that bit, and it's like, oh, all of this makes sense. It's really cool.
And it is, and it's gorgeous. And You know, I mean, I always say when I work with clients, going back to comment about, you know, they all do it, is that, look, for me, my completely personal opinion is there's a success trifecta. And one is that you want to be ready for that healing. And sometimes you go for that healing or that care, or whatever it is, and you realize you're not ready for that, which is fine, but you have to be ready. You then have to find the right modality. So I love angel healers, angel therapists, and I love crystal healers, largely because I can just step away because they're not my skill, so I can go to them and do that. But I adore EFT. That's one I'll use every day. And you then need to find the right practitioner. So, you know, there is no right or wrong. There's no proven method. There's no this, that, the other. I could be the best person for you today, but I'd have been the wrong person for you last year. Yeah. And, you know, and we tend to work with I think as well, quite often you work with the people that are on the similar journey that you were on. So
absolutely true. Yeah, definitely.
I don't work with a lot of physical pain. I don't work with a lot of that, the classics, the IBS, the this, that, and the other. I work with the women, predominantly women, who are like, right, there's something else, right? I've got all that stuff, but there's something else. What is it? Or I know I should be doing, but I don't know how to do it. I can't stop feeling like this. And I know I should be there, but I'm here and I don't know how to get across that bridge. Yeah. That was me. I knew, I've always known, and it was it came up in my numbers. And that was the one thing that made me go, oh my God, is I've always felt quite arrogantly, I felt arrogant thinking it, that I'm here for something. I don't know what it is, but I'm here to do something. I'm here to lead, to be. I shouldn't be sat, you know, in the metaphorical bleachers. I'm meant to be up front, even though I hate standing up front. But I've always thought, who are you? Who are you to think that? You know, you're no Gabriella Bernstein or Joe Dispenza or any of that lovely Hay House crew. And then I see, if you want to know about numerology, I see that my soul number, so the number my heart wants, is a 1, which is the independent individual leader. So my heart is craving this. And I think that was the one when I saw it, I was like, oh my God, that is it. That's what I've always felt. And now I understand how that fits in. And actually, one of my other numbers is also a 1. So I know that I need to step into that. I can do that. And I can do that now without feeling arrogant, because it's just where my energy sits.
Absolutely.
So it's like, play, you can be you.
That's really interesting. So, I mean, I know nothing about numerology, which is why it's wonderful to have this conversation, because I'm hearing you give me tidbits, and I'm going to ask you to kind of break down a few things a bit more, and then we're going to talk about mine a little bit. But I mean, you know, if I was coming into this as old Hannah, and I'd be like, what, do you know, like, how is it not just, are you not just finding some kind of way to affirm, you know, you're not just trying to kind of give yourself a permission, you know, going like, oh,
I'm trying to find
guilty about this, but like, if I do this, then it's okay, kind of thing.
Yeah. So, well, first of all, numerology. So this is, even though I seem to be very good at it, it's still quite new to me, but it isn't new. So the form of numerology I do is the Western, and I can never say this word, so Pythagoras, I think it's called Pythagorean or something like that. It's that. There's a few different methods of it, but this is the most common. It's the most common one you'll find if you go to a numerologist. They'll use this thing. And it basically attributes values to numbers and letters, okay? So it's a really simple formula. So you've got all 26 letters in the alphabet. I think there's 26, isn't there? And then each of those letters have a number, and it's numbers 1 to 9. It's just that simple. And then depending on, I'll go through the 7 areas, but depending on the 7 areas that we're working on, you'll add up those numbers in a different way. So the reason the way you know that there is some credibility to this in terms of its efficacy and its kind of trueness is that I can write them for somebody and I've never met them, and yet I'm getting feedback that says, oh my God, this is really me. That's really affirmed everything for me. And I've got other people who have looked at them and gone, I want that life. And actually, I had somebody I know who went, I want that life. And I'm just like, well, I knew when I was writing this that you are not living this life, because ultimately we still have free will. So numerology, astrology, and I know you'll be doing an astrology one, it's the same type of stuff. Astrology comes from the stars, numerology comes from numbers. So I'm a Cancerian, and I'm definitely, I don't care what NASA says, I'm definitely a Cancerian. I'm not falling into Gemini. I'm definitely a Cancerian. So I can definitely identify with that. And it's the same with the numbers. So I don't need to know anything. All I need to know is when your date of birth, the name, your full name on your birth certificate, and your current name now. So I was born Samantha Louise Browse. I am now Samantha Sutherland. If I went by Sam, I'd be Sam Sutherland, if that's what I identified with or resonated, introduced myself as. And I did a reading for one person who'd had 2 or 3 different name changes because of adoption and stuff like that. But even though you might have been born and registered with one name and adopted 24 hours later and changed your name, it's still that first name that was put on paper. And that's it. They're the only 3 bits of information. And it is fascinating how true and accurate it can be. And often when people go, we'll find out, so I've got all yours, when people go, no, I don't really resonate with that, and then you start talking and exploring, you're like, oh okay, yeah, no, well actually that makes absolute sense, because oh yeah, and actually they can see it, and they can see the patterns start to come in, because ultimately we have free will. So if we've not gone down that path, and our life path, which is our main number, is probably a slightly more difficult path, so we'll go down the easy one sometimes, but you get to that point where there's a level of unfulfillment and dissatisfaction. And if we'll go through yours, and I'll use mine as an example where that dissatisfaction came from. So shall I go through the different types of numbers and stuff, and it'll just make so much more sense?
Yeah, we'll do that in just a sec. But one thing I was going to say, because it just kind of came to me when you were speaking, as like putting my skeptics hat on, is when you go, oh, like, people read this and they go, that could be me, right? People do that with their horoscopes in their like in their Woman's Weekly, and that's what gives astrology a bad name, because it's like, I can fit myself into this box, but then that means there's only 12 types of people in the whole universe, which then makes everyone go, well, of course that's nonsense, of course it's not true. So like, how do you get around that one?
So for me there's just an element of open-heartedness, open-mindedness. Okay, so first of all, if a client comes to me for a reading or one of my therapies or anything like that, they're looking for something. So they're open. There is an openness to them. They want to know something. It's my responsibility to do my job. So with regards to numerology, it's my responsibility to give them the information. If they don't want to accept that, I'm not going to make it fit. I might go, well, okay, well, has this ever happened, or this, and give examples of actually how it might exist in their life. But the reality is, if they don't want to hear, they don't want to hear. And I can give all the scientific proof in the world, they don't want to hear, and that's just the way it is. And then I just have got to the place in my practice just to go, that's fine. I'm doing this with integrity and with an open heart. If you're not ready, you're not ready. And that's absolutely
that
fine.
Open heart thing is important, isn't it? Because what I've learned is that truth has a frequency that I recognize. And that when I stop fighting against that, we have this incredible sense there seems to be kind of bashed out of us through using, the written word or language in a way that's like, actually, when you've got, people talk about the gut feeling, but there's also the heart feeling. We've got neurons in our gut and we've got neurons in our brain, and to ignore those sensations as anything other than kind of a physical thing, it's like, actually, what all these electromagnetic fields around our body are doing is receiving information on frequencies, and the body's figuring it out below our conscious awareness a lot of the time. So I think for me, that's quite an interesting one, where you're always going to get,
you know, people who are kind of stuck in a you know, particle physics model or whatever, they're just going nonsense. But actually there's so much evidence being brought out scientifically now.
Well, think about it. Albert Einstein, God bless his soul, 19, 20, 30s, 40s, I don't know, I'm not funny enough, I'm not very good with numbers in that way. You know, he was talking about this 80 to 100 years ago. He was telling us everything is energy. He was saying that things are affected by energy. He was saying that where our perception goes, that is what we see. You know, so there is science, but that science has been like, oh, there's no money in that. Let's just push that aside. You know, that's my personal opinion. So it really isn't new. It's even scientifically proven, a lot of this stuff now. You know, it's proven that you can look at your hands, and if they go in enough, that there's vibrating energy. There is science in it. I really couldn't give two hoots about the science. I'm very heart-led. I give two hoots in as much as I want. You know, I'm not going to take any medication without thinking someone's just whacked it up in their bedroom. I want to know. I just might choose homeopathy or something, but there needs to be an element of science in it, but not everything needs science. We don't have to. We've got into this mindset, we need to know the nitty gritty.
Right, there has to be proof. Yeah,
we need the proof. And there are times we do need proof. I want to know that the car I'm driving is safe, and I want my little triangle that says this car has been approved to withstand this, that, or the other. It's something I want to make that type of decision on. When I buy clothes, I want to feel good in them. I don't need any proof that it's going to make me feel good. I want to feel it. You know, I don't need proof that scientific proof that lipstick or that eyeshadow is right for me. I want to look at myself and go, I feel pretty in this. It makes my heart sing. It makes me feel strong, whatever it is. So there's a time and a place, and we all are individuals, and there are those that will need it, and there'll be those that don't, and it's fine, because you know what, if we all liked and followed the same things, it'd be really boring, and most of the world would be out of work. So there's enough people, if you think of it in abundance language, there's enough people for us all to work with. There's enough alleys for us all to explore, to heal, to become better, higher vibrational people. There's enough fashion for us all to find our own style, you know, and that's just what it's all about. So am I everybody's solution? Absolutely not. Does that worry me? No, because the people that find me are the people that are meant to come to me, and if I'm not right for them, then I'm a stepping stone, because for me they will find what is right for them, and that's absolutely fine. And it's just that simple.
Yeah, no, that's great. It's such a great attitude as well. I think, you know, there's not always one right answer, is there? There just isn't. There's so much individuality.
Yeah.
As practitioners, I mean, again, this is so not about me, but I have a therapy which for some people is going to be perfect.
What do you do?
So mine is called Applied Movement Neurology, and it's quite new, and it's stemmed out of, so it's kind of, it's grown, and interestingly that journey that AMN has taken is kind of a similar journey to mine down the rabbit hole, because the more we kind of figured out, the more we've gone, but it started with being quite a tapping therapy, actually, where we were kind of combining, in words that will make sense to you, we were kind of combining kinesiology with tapping, because we were using a manual muscle test to gain information and feedback in the body, and it was more relative movement and pain and things like that. So we'd swipe a muscle, and then we had kind of contact points for different parts of the brain, and figuring out where the neurology was broken down. And we've been able to kind of go, oh, okay, so you've come in with a shoulder ache, so we're going to find the primary muscle. There it is, manual muscle test. What's the problem? Is it brainstem? Is it something here? Is it down the spinal cord? Whatever. We'd find it, we'd allocate it, we'd contact points, and then we'd tap on the head to send the piezoelectric charge through, and they'd be like, oh, it's gone, magic. And then we kind of learned that we could do that with quite a lot of conditions as well. Because we could utilize quite a lot of the old methods. There's a lot there. So we could utilize acupoints. We could utilize actually thought and language, which perturbs charges, which again, you know, in kinesiology we know. to basically the point we can ask anything. And then we started looking at not just tapping, but okay, well, what other modalities do we use? Because obviously there's compression of a tissue, which is the trigger point thing. And what are we actually doing there? Because we are adding electric charge, but rather than being an alternating current you might get through a tap, you're getting a direct current, which is closer. So actually the practitioner is giving some of their energy through, or being a conduit for, and it's a different type, so it's more intense. And what's it doing to the muscles? Well, maybe it's increasing the baroreceptors to that particular area in order to get more blood flow through or something, but try to really break down what it is we're doing. And then we got into what we call the wab-wabs fondly, which is the kind of intention calibration using feeling the chi energy or whatever you want to call it through the hands, and then basically we just test for what's the client's issue, where is the client's issue, and what is the best frequency that I can give it in order for it to heal. So we're just kind of going like, okay, what's wrong and how can I fix it, which to me makes loads of sense. But you put yourself in a room with someone and it makes a bit of sense, but then to say, but actually because of the way space-time works, I don't need to be in the room with you, so I can just kind of do that from here. And then it's a bit like, what?
I have to say that in a way lockdown unlocked my skills, because it's like, well, I can't do this in a clinic anymore. And I'd already been like, I want out of the room felt stifling, not the physical room but the concept of room. And the work that I have been doing on the energy level with the kinesiology and the tapping without having the client in the room with me is just been phenomenal. I swear it's been stronger, because I think you're taking away all the little tools, the things that make people feel comfortable, like I've got your hand and look, I'm touching where it hurts, so that makes sense to you, and you just take all that away. And it's lovely. In fact, most of the clients I've got since lockdown have only ever worked with me online now, and there's definitely been a shift towards those people who are ready for that. And what I love about what you're saying, and with my kinesiology head on and with my tapping head on, is the whole, ultimately we're connecting with what this energy system, which is what we are, wants. What does this energy system need? Because not the conscious mind, but the energy system knows our truth, knows how to release it, knows what it needs. And what we think we want isn't always what we really want. But so we bypass all that noise and we heal your mind, body, soul, spirit, chakras, whatever it is that needs adjusting. And it's just fabulous. And I always said, and I don't know if you've had this experience, when a client looks at me and just goes, how do you know that?
Yes. Yeah.
And I just go, yeah, got that face.
And you're like, yes, I'm in. I know, totally. It is really interesting because we do. We obviously, the limbic brain holds a lot of stuff on a physical level, and then you've kind of got the electromagnetic kind of almost pockets, I suppose, that kind of the things that are involved in that on a invisible level kind of thing, but they're still very much there. And we correlate areas of the body and areas of the brain, layers, the germ layers to mean certain things. And you can timeline this stuff, obviously, so you can go like, oh, did something happen with a certain family member and at a certain time, and they kind of go, oh, how did you know? And it's just like, I didn't know, but your body told me. Yeah.
And I love it, and that's what I love. That's just what I love about all of the energy healings, is that it's client driven. The clients go, oh my God, Sam, you're so amazing, thank you so much. I'm like, no, I've just facilitated. You've done the work. You've told me what you need. You've told me where your trauma is. You've told me that this is what you're thinking and feeling. I've just contained it. And and I'm not dismissing my skill. My skill comes in the verbal questioning. My skill comes in reading the client and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just beautiful. And I think it's so empowering when clients actually realize they have the answers. They do know. We've lost, as a species, we've lost that innate understanding of self, and we're
Well, we forgot to listen, haven't we? And we've also kind of given our power away to external, and not to say that external healing isn't required sometimes, but like, I feel like you need to have got quite broken before you need to give your power away to someone else, you know, and we've forgotten that, whereby it's like, oh, I've got to go and see someone because I don't feel well, instead of going, I need to kind of listen to my body to find out why I don't feel well.
I think it's a complicated thing. You know, we have a free system. So why would somebody who's going, why would you pay, in theory, why would you pay for something when I can go down to that person who's trained for 8 years? You know, surely they've got the answers, and you know, and they do, but have some answers. When I first came into this industry, I really struggled with the fact that if you could only access me if you had the money, and that felt really elitist. But I need to earn money, so I can't do it for free, so I need to earn enough money so then I can do some free stuff and balance out that energy within me. And whereas the National Health Service, God bless it, is there for anybody of any origin, of any socio-economic background, it's just there. So that's what people do, and they go and literally over a couple of generations, that's what you do. You're born in a hospital, most likely. You see doctors when you're poorly. You see doctors when you're giving birth, and this and that. You're going on holiday, you're going to get injections, you see doctors. And it's just become a way of life. But I think as well as that, we're veering off slightly, but with the whole social media stuff as well, and the social expectations of how we should be responding. And it takes a really strong person to go, look, actually, do you know what? I'm seeing this practitioner, or I'm exploring this to feel better, to look better, to mentally function better. And you know, there is a right way and a wrong way, and allegedly, and there's a lot of social pressure out there, and it does take a certain sense of knowing to go against what you think you are meant to be behaving and acting and making decisions like. I think it's just really comfortable, so complicated. So so whenever anybody walks through my door or appears on my Zoom, or however we're working nowadays, I am always so immensely humble. I think that's the right word. I'm not very good with my words, because they've chosen me out of all the possibilities, that they come to me and they are trusting me with themselves, and it's an absolute honour when that happens, because it's probably taken a lot for that to happen.
Yeah, it can do sometimes, can't it? I mean, I think, you know, when you think about, I mean, for me, I don't know if it's the same for you, you know, there were demons, you know, obviously I had a bit of a narcissistic viewpoint to anything that wasn't, you know, sort of mainstream and allopathic, and I would have felt very uncomfortable at the prospect of going to somebody. But then, you know, obviously, as I kind of walked my path, you know, the practitioners and the people, and, you know, just whatever, whether it was chance or whether it was something I booked, you know, along the way, that was something that I'd obviously thought a lot about, and chosen that person because maybe something they'd said, or maybe something that I'd resonated, drew me towards them. And then you think, well, wow, then I'm powerful as a practitioner. I'm powerful because if somebody's chosen me because of something, some energy that I've exuded, be that through kind of language or, you know, just somebody's vibe even, then, you know, cool.
Absolutely. I think it's interesting. I think it's taken me a long time in my practice to get to the point where actually I don't have to have all the scientific answers, because part of my nature is to have all of the answers. And I'm very much at a place now where actually I don't need them. I'm good at what I do. I know what I'm doing. I'm qualified to do what I do. I do what I need to do to maintain my integrity and my knowledge. And you know, I joke with my clients that I'm the most unprofessional professional out there. You know, I've always got pens flying out of my hands, and my words are stumbling, and I drop things and this, and you know, I probably don't have the most clinically professional room, but it's right for my clients. And it's
sure. And who wants a robot? I mean, obviously some people want a robot and they'll go to those people, but you know, I mean, that wouldn't work for me either, you know. So I totally get that, you know. And also, what you were saying just then, you know, the one thing you missed is that you help people, and that's the most powerful part of it. So you know, whether there's a scientific proof or not, anecdotal evidence to me is one of the most disregarded bits of evidence that we have available to us, because it's huge, isn't it? Like if you've got multiple people all saying this thing made me feel, you know, better, this thing changed something for me in a positive way, it you know, either, you know, solved something or provided a stepping stone to help me improve my own life, that isn't that it, you know? Isn't that what we're trying to do?
Absolutely.
So, you know, so I totally love that. Right, should we get on to numbers? Let's
it's really funny, before we go into numbers, I'm a life path 9, which will make sense in a minute, and it was my birthday last month, and I know it's your birthday tomorrow, and I worked out that it was a personal year. This will all make sense in a minute, but I was in a personal year 9, and then because of that, my birthday was on a day 9. I was about to turn 45, which it was 4 and 5 is 9. I'm married to a policeman who's 999, and there was about 4 or 5 different 9s, and I did it on Facebook, and I tagged in my mentor, just went, what have you done to me? I literally, my life, I look around and I'm just see numbers and patterns, and it's just beautiful. And bizarrely, I don't know why, but I've always had sentences in my head, and I count the letters, so they're like, you know, what is 4 letters, and A, and then bird, and just kind of like, I've always done it, so it was always part of my path. I just didn't have any idea that's how it was going to turn up. So there we go. So let's crack on. So I have all of your numbers here. I did a little reading for you. So when we do so a lot of people will do 5 numbers. My training has been, there are 7 core numbers to understand who you are. And for me, this is, in acknowledging that you've still got free will, this shows you your potential. So when I do a reading personally, very little of it focuses on the downside, the out of balance element. And that's been a conscious decision that I've taken on following my mentor's training, because do you know what? We know what we're crap at. We know what our bad points are. We don't need, and this is what you'll feel if you're out of balance. So I do say that in my reports, but it tends to be, these are areas of self-development, and here are some affirmations you can use. So it's there, it's just said in a much nicer way than this will be your bad points. We just don't, there's enough of that out there. So it's a very positive document. Some would argue it's maybe too biased to that positive side, but I love it, and I love the energy and potential that gives, because this document is about you reading it and seeing it and going, right, so that's where my potential lies. Not this is it, but that's where it lies, and I can go and explore that. So the first of the numbers we have, the first of the type of number we have is what you call your life path number. And your life path number is in the same way that I've got blue hair and no, not blue hair, blue eyes and grey hair, but it's dyed red, and pink cheeks and a wobbly finger, is who I am. That's who my physical DNA is. Your life path number is your numerological DNA. It's who you are. That's it, point blank. You've then got your destiny number, which is almost as strong a weighting. So everything we do is based off the life path, but your destiny number is almost as relevant and strong. And your destiny number is, so you might be this in your DNA, but this is what you're here to explore. This is what you're here to achieve. This is what you're destined to experience in your lifetime. And then you've got your soul number. And your soul number is, as I was saying earlier, that is what your heart, regardless of the destiny in the life path, it's what your heart wants, it's what you're drawn to. And then your personality number is how people perceive you. And this is a really funny one, because it can often be completely different. And in my one, I've got this random number 5 is my personality one, and it's how everybody sees me. And you kind of think, well, how's that important? Well, it's important if you're going for job interviews, if you're pitching for work, if you're like, why do I not fit in? What is it's going on? If you see that people perceive you in a certain way, it's not to suggest that you go change, but at least you understand, okay, so this is what they're seeing, even though that's not who I am. You can work with it, tone it down if it's the right environment and stuff. Like, you go in an interview and I'm like a 5-3-1, don't box me in. I'm not going to sit there and suddenly start saying, yeah, no, I love the freedom to go and do what I want when I want, and they're going to go, yeah, no. You're going to kind of tone that energy down. You then got your maturity number, which comes in 40 to 45 years, and then for the following decade, and it lasts through, but it's predominant in that period. So you're just kind of entering that maturity zone. And I like to think of this as, it could be the same number as your destiny or life path or whatever, but it's about like, I'm ready now, I'm mature enough, I've experienced enough to really step into this zone of being. Does that make sense? So yeah. It's like you've done enough, and it's like, right, I'm ready for this now. All this has gone, right, it's okay. Then got your birthday number, which is literally derived from your birthday, so that's obviously a 6. And then you've got your current name number, which is the only number in your reading that will change. So if you get married, or you're divorced, or you change your name, or whatever the reason would be, then you would, because 10 years ago, I'd have probably said it was Sam Sutherland, whereas now I'm definitely Samantha Sutherland. So that would have changed that energy. It's the only one that varies. Okay, so they're the 7 numbers. So it's quite holistic. It looks at all different aspects of you and where you are. And then you've got 9 main numbers and 3 master numbers. Okay, so I don't know the best way to do this, whether to go through each one or go through your plan and uncover the numbers as we do it. Which way would you like me to do it?
Second way sounds good. Should we do that?
Sounds good. Yes. And what I'll do is any numbers we've not done. So basically, your life path number is a life path 5. Now, please don't feel obligated to make this fit. Okay, I'm just going to tell you what it is.
Yeah, no, let me know. Yeah, I'm interested.
So a life path 5 at its core is somebody who, actually, funny enough, I was saying is my personality number, doesn't want to be boxed in, wants to be able to do what they want to do. They are at their heart, they are an explorer, they are an adventurer. They want to experience their world. So that might be the whole globe, or it might be just their environment, but they want to taste it, see it, feel it, learn it, understand this place that they're in, or this environment, or event, or whatever it is. Like, really take it in. So almost as living through the senses. And the 5s are people who not only do they experience that, but they then want to share that. They want to experience it and then share that knowledge and teach that knowledge. They're people who have people drawn to them because they love their stories, and they're like, oh, tell me more, I want to know more. And you're seen as very vivacious and lively and confident. And a 5 will also be a trendsetter. So on a creative level, will be somebody who sets the trends, who's a bit of a trailblazer. So it's a beautiful, free spirit, and it's just, my mentor described it as having gypsy feet, which I quite like. It's not that you can't sit still, you can have relationships and all this sort of stuff, but there's a freedom element that is needed in order to really thrive. Now I'm a 9. So a 9 is the compassionate humanitarian. So everything about me is about compassion to the world, to my environment, to my community. It's very heart-led. It's somebody who will fight for the cause, champions things, whether it's just telling everybody how to recycle, or whether it's like, come on, look, I want to spread the word and do this. And I guess my cause is what I'm doing. It's about you have the potential to be amazing, and you've probably forgotten that. So let me show you how to do this, because oh my God, the world could just be so healthy and happy if we all stepped into that zone of awesomeness. So 2 very different numbers, yours and mine. Yeah, very different.
So shall I tell you how that fits in with me? So,
just don't ruin my business by saying it's a load of rubbish.
and there are many people who will verify this. Like, I have been itching to go and live somewhere in a hot country and just kind of basically go mobile, go walkabout for a while. I want to go spend some time learning with maybe a shaman or something like that. I just want to go, and I've just been like, last October I did the Everest Base Camp hike. And I went straight from there for a week in Bali, and I just didn't want to come home. I didn't want to come home to November in the UK. I wanted to stay out exploring, and it was really hard. Like, it was a tough winter, and I have just been ever since going like, what can I do to mean that I can just travel? Like, what can I do? So that is pretty spot on, and I'm not making that up. That's that's genuine. So
see, it's awesome, and that's just from your birthday. But the thing is with a 5 is using that energy in a focused, achievable way. Otherwise, you'll just spend your life traveling the world and go, well, that was fun, but what have I actually done?
What am I doing? Yeah, but equally, I really like taking things apart and seeing how they work. So that whole kind of wanting to explore a subject, or really what I'm doing here. I just want to find stuff out, I'm interested.
Yeah.
And then, for it to serve me and for it to serve a wider community. But I think that fits really well. So, okay. So far you've got my approval.
I've got 1 for 1. Right.
Yeah.
So your destiny, so this is what you're destined to experience and to undertake, is number 6. And funny enough, we have the same destiny number. So we are both the caring one. Okay. So everything about the caring one is of service. So what you're doing now is of service. Is we want the 6 energy is about helping people. We don't want to see people in distress. We want to step in. We want to solve. We are the nurturers, the carers, the love. We're just full of love. Just so much love to give. And we're also people. We want to create an environment where people feel safe and nurtured. And we can tend to kind of go, let me help, whether people want it or not. And then we get hurt when we get pushed away. So we can overstep that boundary sometimes. But it's all about the giving and the love and the just let me help you. So we are a 6 energy is all about learning how to be of service. If it was your life path, then that is just who you are. And this isn't to say nobody else can be a good parent, but if there was a good parent number, it is 6, because it is the natural caregiver, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
okay?
absolutely.
But that doesn't have to be of a biological family. That could be you play that role in your team at work. You play that role in your community. It's the parenting energy of bringing together and nurturing and all that, raising people up. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous energy. So what you've got this really vibrant, out there, fiery, exploratory, but you've got this gorgeous, you're destined to show and use this gorgeous heart who just wants to be there for others, to help others. And that's exactly what you're doing with this podcast. It's what you're doing with your healing practice. So that's the 6 energy.
Cool.
Now your birthday number is also a 6.
Yeah.
So you've got 2 6s. Okay, at the moment you've got 2 6 energies. So it just means that actually you've got, so I'm going to skip. So your birthday number is a 6, and your birthday number is what you are born with. You are just born with those skills. So you are naturally a carer. I don't know, you probably played little dolly parties where you were looking after all your dolls and all, all those sorts of roles. Wanted to be mummy's little helper and all those sorts of very classic stereotypes.
Yeah. And I used to cook food for the family ever since I was really young, look after the little brother. And absolutely. Yeah, I've always been a nurturer.
Yeah, just to look after, nurture, that sort of thing. So you're naturally born with those skills. The other thing about a 6, which I find really interesting, is, and it definitely resonated with me, is we are very intuitive, empathic, emotionally. So not from a psychic point of view, but from, we can just, that energy's off, that person's not right. but interestingly, what we feel, we broadcast really, really well. So if we're in a zone of, I am just, bleep me if you need to, I'm just pissed off right now and I'm struggling, everybody else feels that, that's around us. So so sixes have to be, so life path sixes, but this is part of the destiny and the birthday energy, have to be very aware that what they feel, they broadcast and others take on. So I know I've been told, it's like, oh my God, you always know when Sam's in a mood, because the whole energy around just like six is like really big. But equally, you know I've had many conversations with people and think something's not right. And then 2 weeks later, they'll go, oh, do you know that this was going on? I knew there was something off. Like there's a real lovely intuition around that emotional energy, because everything about six is emotional. So you've got your birthday number, so that you've got the natural skills in place to reach that destiny, to experience that, if that makes sense. Now your soul number and your personality number are exactly the same, and they're neither of those numbers. You are a soul 3, okay, and a personality 3.
Okay.
Okay, if I add up right, I always just check my numbers. I could be adding all this up wrong, by the way. So a 3 is the creative expressionist. Okay. So the 3, everything about a 3 is communication, creativity, and inner child. They're like the watchwords for the 3. They are like the keywords and descriptors. So 3s as a life path number, if we just talk about that in life path terms, these people are the ones that walk in the room and all eyes are on them. They love being centre of attention. They love having the spotlight on them, not necessarily from a drama perspective, but just like it. Listen to my stories, look at me tumble, whatever it is. But they've got a beautiful way with the written and verbal word. They're more like, 3s are quite likely to be artists, musicians, people in media, all that kind of expressive ways of expressing and communicating themselves and the world and their learnings and all that sort of stuff. But they are the most in touch with their inner child of all the energy. They kind of never quite grow up, not to say they're immature, but to say that they can get down and dirty with the kids and they can roll around on the grass and have fun, and that doesn't bother them. They're very comfortable with children and being around children. So a child's entertainer is like perfect for a 3. A really just beautiful, bright, happy, full-on energy, just gorgeous. So there's part of you that sees that in you, this communicator or the expressionist or whatever. And there's part of that's how people perceive you as well, as somebody who communicates what they need and who they are, and are very expressive, very creative and fun and outgoing, and happy to be in the center of things.
So this number 3, what's really, really interesting, and my friends, like close friends and family, will just be like, oh my God, because I'm a professional singer. Ever since I was 5, when I first joined the choir, I'd be performing, and I also played 3 instruments. I was always performing. I thought I wanted to be an opera singer, but I've done all of that, so that whole kind of creative side of things. But I also love making things. I have the craft department, I've got all of that, and I am the inner child thing is hilarious, because I absolutely refuse to grow up. So tomorrow I'm turning 40, and there ain't nobody in the world who's like getting that. It's just like, I never got married, I never did any of that. But not that you have to, but I'm just I'm stuck in a 12-year-old, not 12 is a horrible age for a woman, but I'm stuck in maybe an 8-year-old's body, where I just want to play all the time. And
well, that's perfect. So that's your soul. That's the heart leading in. And the thing is about this is about layering. This isn't about how can you be a 3 if you're a life path 5? It's just about the different names.
Yeah, it just, those personalities go together. I can see that completely, because I am an explorer, but I'm also creative. I can totally see that.
But it's interesting. The 5 and the 3 are very similar. So there's kind of lots of pairs. So you've got the 1 and an 8 of a similar sort of level. the 6 and the 9 are very similar, and the 3 and the 5, that, you know, there's a different vibe to them, but they've both got that very out there energy, just go. So you know, you see yourself with this bit, but your life path is this, and yeah, it's just gorgeous. Now, interestingly, your maturity number is 2. Okay, so the 2 is the peaceful one. This is what we call them, and the key words for a 2 are balance, harmony, negotiating, the ultimate diplomat. So you're coming into a zone where you'll find yourself kind of like just requiring a little bit more balance and harmony. And interestingly, you say about music, because where there's no better place to find harmony and balance than there is in music, in listening or playing. And it's all about, you know, the 2s are people from a life path perspective. The 2s are the people who will be able to see very, very intuitive, almost psychically, but very intuitive, and be able to go, right, okay, so this is what you're saying, this is what you're saying, I can see both sides, have you thought, let's work this through. And they're very clever with their words and their expression and language to persuade, to change minds and stuff through loving, heart-centered, gentle persuasion, as opposed to aggression and this is what we're doing and stuff. So it's a very gentle energy. So you've got this beautiful out there, fiery, bouncy 5 and 3 going on, this heart-centered 6, and now you've got this almost sort of serene and gentle 2 energy that brings all that slightly into balance.
And are you saying that's something that I'm coming into?
Yeah, so that's
quite interesting for me, because I certainly feel like really in the last, I don't know, very short amount of time, you know, really possibly as long as 12 months, but probably less, where I've really and actually over the lockdown period I've really gone inside a little bit and kind of discovered a bit more. But just a feeling like everything I've been doing has been gearing up to something where I now feel that there's a point at which I'm kind of like, okay, I feel like I kind of understand it all a bit now, and I'm happy to be at peace. And there's that kind of that sense, and you know, that balance internally, as well as, you know, obviously having keen negotiating skills, as everyone should learn to do, but you know, that internal chatter where you're like, actually, I'm going to have that conversation in here, where it's like trying to find the equilibrium of you know, before you kind of go at everything like a bull in a china shop, to go, actually, I'm going to balance my emotions internally, and then I'm going to have this presence of calmness and balance, like all my energies are kind of intact, because I feel like then I project a much calmer me, and that's nicer for other people. Because as you say, if everything we feel goes out into the room, and I do totally kind of resonate with that, that actually what I want to go out into the room is something that people are very kind of, it is a calm space. Because
so one of the beautiful things about a 2 is a lot of things that people would say about a 2 is they always feel better for having been in a 2's company. They always come away just feeling everything's okay. You know, a 2 doesn't want conflict. They are the ultimate conflict knotters. I'm so eloquent. You know, so they will do everything to avoid conflict. An out of balance 2 would be somebody who's very shy, who just wants to shy away from everything, isn't comfortable around all this. Very sensitive energy as well, so emotionally sensitive, not in a kind of weak way, but in a, they recognize, a 2 will recognize there's grace in their gentleness. You know, there's no weakness in that, there's a beauty and a strength in that ability. So so depending on which textbooks you read, 40 is the earliest that energy will start to come in. A lot of people tend to say sort of 45, but certainly the 40 to 50 period is when that will just start ramping up, or there'll be a bit more of a, I'm not on board with the fight. You know, I'm not going to get involved in that anymore. We're just going to step back. I'm going to be with people where it's a bit calmer. You like that calmer environment. But yeah, it's that ability to also see that actually that you can negotiate. You will start to bring calm to chaos around you and the people around you. So it's a really gorgeous energy to step into. My maturity is my 6. So I'm 45. So I'm right depends on the age. I mean, in the beginning or sat bang in the middle, I'm like, yes, because actually this is the first time in my life I'm ready to be that carer. I'm ready to take that without feeling put upon and without feeling the victim. And, I'm just really owning that thing. So it's just beautiful the way it works. And so, and then we've done the birthday number, and then your last number is, you'll like this one, because your name is, you said, I'm Hannah Moody. And so your current name number is 8. Now 8 is the one that everybody wants to be, because 8 is the manifester. But 8 is actually, I think, from what I've read and learned and been taught and seen in people, is probably one of the hardest energies to work with, but it's the most amazing energies. So the idea behind the manifester is your energy is such that you can manifest whatever your thoughts are. Okay, so if your thoughts are on, if everything about this podcast you're doing is success, you're clear, you know what you want, you're going to go out there, it will happen. I've got no doubt it will happen. Doesn't mean it won't be bumpy and lessons and that, but it will happen. Whilst you stay in that zone, it's very easy for an 8. So, for example, if you got off this call and were like, oh my God, that tech was awful, it was a disaster. Everything you do to rectify it it's a disaster. It's a disaster. See, it was a disaster, because that's where your energy is focused. So a life path 8 has a really hard task of balancing and being really aware of where their thoughts and where their energy is, because they can create the most amazing things, but they can create drama very easily as well.
I think that's where, for me, that's what I was kind of talking about that 2 energy, where like there was a version of me that was really chaos, and I could manifest chaos so easily. And everything, we haven't talked about this, and it's probably not the right podcast, but everything kind of being a fractal repetition. And I would just be like, why am I back here again? Like, what on earth am I doing? And it's just be like kind of these like destructive paths, and then actually to have gone, no, that doesn't have to be that way, and actually I can choose what I prefer. So like this hilarious podcast with all our technical like things going on, actually what I'm getting is a really fab conversation that I love, and whatever happens, we're going to put out something great. It's going to be fab. And that's my challenge, is to get better at this. Of course it is, but actually I needed to do it. It was important for me to do it, and that is where I think that
start, haven't you?
That energy's changed for me.
That's perfect 8, because the 8 is a key. So keywords for 8 is manifesting success and money, which I'll talk about in a second. So 8's like a 1, and 8 is likely to be really successful in anything they do. They're going to be great in business, great in life. Just if that's where they're focused, that will be achieved. And they're very much, let's just do it. Come on, we're not going to sit around. Let's get on and crack this. We're going to be successful and get on. And the 8s have a really beautiful, and this is what a lot of people would think when they hear the word manifesting, the 8s can have a really good relationship with money. But from a point of view that they're able to see, if they've had the education and the experience and exposure, the potential for an 8 to just see money as a commodity. It's just energy. So they're comfortable earning it. 8s are comfortable spending it. They're comfortable giving it. They're comfortable investing it. It's just something. It will go, it will come back. I give it out, it comes back. It's a really beautiful relationship to have. An out of balance 8 can become very hoardy, very greedy, very focused on the money, when actually they don't need to be, because of all the numbers. It can just flow, because they've got that mindset, it's going to happen, blah, 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 blah. So the 8's are gorgeous. Most people want to be a 7 or an 8 because they want to manifest everything, or they want the spiritual side of the 7, which we've not discussed yet. So that's a really good energy, but it is quite friable. It's a very difficult one to balance. So as you grow up, as you learn, my son's an 8, as you learn to harness that energy, there's a lot of learning around self-power and self-understanding. And if you can find that, then the world's the world is your playground, but if you don't understand your power, an 8 will struggle because the balance just won't be there. But it's a gorgeous, you've got a gorgeous set of numbers. And and this year it's a year 4, it's a universal year 4. You're about to turn 40, so that's just cute. And
universal year 4, that's 2020 adds to 4, is that what you mean by that?
Yeah, so everybody in the world is experiencing a universal year 4, right? So a 4, we haven't done that number, I will recap in order so it makes more sense. A 4 is they are the dedicated workers. So a life path 4, I call them the worker bees. If you think of a beehive, they're doing the work. There is no beehive really without the 4, regardless of the queen, because they're the ones that bring it together. 4s are grounded, soul to the earth. They are, you can rely on them. You have a problem, you think in the office and you go, oh, the printer's not working, you go to somebody, you're probably going to go to a 4 because they've got that thing about them and they want to help you solve it. They are super reliable. Loyalty is important to them. Relationships are important to them. They're good in a relationship. They like to plan and know what's going on. Whereas the 8, which is a double 4, effectively, not so much worried about the planning, let's just go do. And the 4 has that same manifesting energy that the 8 does, but from a much more grounded, solid base. It might take a bit longer because I want to get that plan in place. I want to know why they're doing and where they're going. And the same with money. They've got a money relationship, but a 4 is more about we want that grounding, we want that stability, we want that solid base on which to have that financial growth. Where again the 8's like, well, I've got it, it's gone, I've got it, it's gone, I've got it, it's gone. It's a little bit more kind of like freewheeling. So this year is a universal year 4, so everybody regardless of number has the 4 energy which they can bring in. So this year for a lot of people will be largely around finding that grounding energy and understanding and dealing with and facing any issues with money. And what have we all gone through? What is the world going through right now? I mean, you are being forced one way or another to deal with your money because you can't ignore it.
It's so true. Everybody is,
Yeah. It's just, I did originally, when I thought, oh, it's not a very nice year 4, is it? Where's all our abundance? And it's actually, well, no, it is, because we're being forced to find new ways of earning income, if you're not doing that, you're really going to, you will be forced, if you're not kind of going like I did, right, I need a new source of income, like what am I going to do? And I was looking for passive income streams, and I started selling like a network marketing product early on, and I don't really carry on much with that, but that's that whole thing of like, what else can I do, where can I find this? And then you get those people who, I mean, I say this without actually any kind of any venom behind the words, but the victim mentality, because that's the best way that I can describe it, where I've been that, so I understand it viscerally, where it's just like, why me, why is this happening to me, why isn't anybody helping me, kind of thing, where you actually get forced into that, actually I need to take ownership of this and I need to find an answer. So I think there's been so many lessons for the people who have needed to learn to ask for help. The government has in some form offered financial help. Those people who have been overspending, because actually, unless you're going to go on an Amazon trip, actually you were able to take that space and look at why are you spending, what are you spending on. Those that aren't comfortable with money have had to really kind of look at that and learn how to transform that. So it's a really interesting, when you think everybody, and literally globally everybody has been affected financially one way or another, in a way that I've never seen, but that's not where my attention's been. So maybe it has been and I've just not been aware of it. So it's a universal year 4. Now you're in a personal year 9 for you.
Okay, and how does that work?
So a personal year, in what way?
How do you find personal year 9? What's that?
So personal year 9, so your birthday, your birth month with the current year.
Okay. Oh, then that's all I do. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So you're 6 with your August date,
With 8 and then a 4. Yeah.
And add up, it's 14 plus the 4 from the 2020, so that's an 18. 1 and 8 together is a 9. So your journey this year is all about, and think about what you're doing, is the compassionate humanitarian, which I discussed when I explained what my life path was. So your personal year is all about experiencing and exploring that. What is it you're fighting for? Where's your compassion going beyond your family? Because the 6 and the 9 is similar. The 6 for me is all about love of self and relationships and your stuff, whereas the 9 is about love, but it's about the bigger stuff. It's about Greta Thunberg, if I've done her numbers right. She is a life path 9, so she is the ultimate activist. I mean, she's out there 17, she's changing the world, love her or hate her, she is out there fighting that cause. So she's like really embodying that. 9 people do it on different levels. So that's your thing, where you're fighting your cause that you're fighting, that underdog you're fighting for, is for the people, from what you've said, is for the people who don't know, who aren't aware, who can be educated, not because they're not educated, but educated in a different world that exists. So that's what
another modality that find that they didn't know, they don't know that they don't know that this is here, and I want to help that, but also to help therapists find a voice, because therapists are by and large really, really bad at marketing, and that's not their fault because they're not marketers, but they don't also invariably have the money to pay a decent marketer. This is a problem a lot of us have come up against, where it's like, well, what if I could find a solution whereby I don't charge my therapist, but I find another way to do this, where it's like we can do it, and I totally get that. So there is that selfless thing, because I could go like, oh, I'm not gonna promote anyone unless they pay me for it. I mean, that wasn't the idea. That the idea was, let's get it out there. Obviously I need to live, I need to find a way to do that,
find the balance,
but it's through another means. So yeah, that definitely does ring, doesn't it? Like, if that's what this year is about.
And again, it's all about layers, because you can, to be honest, you can look at that and go, I'm in a universal year 4 and it's a personal year 9, and we're in a month 3, so this is your birthday month. It's August is the energy of that inner child that you so lovingly work into, and you're turning 40 in a month 3. So I've got that, and I'm a life path 5, and it's like, well, what? And it isn't about blowing your mind. This is about going, okay, so actually there's an opportunity here for me right now. So my birthday, so tomorrow is a 9-day, because it's universal, it's your life path 9, Samantha language. It's your personal year 9, so it will be a 9-day tomorrow in a 3 month, and you're 40. So, it's just a nice, have fun with it, have fun. And the thing is, so tomorrow for you is a personal 9, so it's like, where can you put your compassion, what love can you give to the world and stuff, but actually I'm in a 3 month, how can I have fun with it? What can I do so it's not, it's not all hard slog, it's not all tie yourself to trees and everything, you can have some fun with it. So there are lots of other lessons. So there are major cycles that we have challenge numbers and achievement numbers, and all things like that. So you just get to see different ways. So the numbers we've not discussed, so we quickly recap. We've got a life path 1, which is the independent individual. So I briefly mentioned it because it was in my chart, and they're the leaders. So they're like your Steve Jobsies. They're the people who have really innovative ideas. They come up with the ideas, they set the balls rolling, but then they I can't think of the right word, the expression, but somehow people gravitate, they pull in the right people that they then go, now go do. To go and create that, make that real, because I've now got this idea, so I'm now over there somewhere. So very successful, likely to be successful in any field they go in. They are here to lead and to inspire, but they recognize that isn't a solo trip. So there will be others along the way with them. The 2 we talked about is the peaceful one, loves to be around people. Just very harmonious, balanced, the diplomat, that, you know, they're going to just be the ones that you turn to for that sort of support. The 3s, which you've got 2 in your numbers, that inner child, the creative expressionist, very vibrant, very energetic, loves the spotlight, isn't ever going to shy away if they're in balance. The 4, the dedicated worker, which we talked about, because it's a universal year 4. So honesty, dependability, grounded, solidity, very solid people. And actually, some of my best friends are 4s, and a lot of people, I suppose, I want to be a 4, it's boring, it's a boring number. But actually, we wouldn't be anywhere without 4s. I mean, 4s are like the glue that pulls society together. So I love a 4.
Bee, can we? We can't all be queen bee.
No, exactly. I don't want to be. You might want to be. I don't want to be a queen bee. That's 4. 5 is your life path number, so very out there. Gimme. Let me explore. Let me taste. The problem with a 5, just as a little bit as you come into this zone of your life, is to be careful about indulgence. So 5s, because like let me explore, can actually have quite sort of addictive tendencies, or obsessive, or like go all in. So not that you're going to become an addict, but just like, I've got this new passion and I'm in there, you know, like, yeah, I can't get enough of this. So it's about balancing that out as well. The 6 is the caring one, so that beautiful, loving, centered. You can feel the differences in the words and the numbers. Now the 7 we've not discussed, which is the spiritual one. So there's 2 sides to the 7. 7, that whereas a 5 wants to explore the world, like physically and verbally and visually and gastrally, whatever that word is, olfactory, through the mouth. And I told you, the unprofessional professional. The 7 wants to understand the why. Why does this happen? Where do I fit into this? They're searching. There's a truth seeker. They're like the truth seeker. They're seeking knowledge. They want to understand how all this fits together. This can't just be it. There's a strong urge for faith within a 7, where it's like, it doesn't have to be within that classic religious confines, but there has to be something more, and they're searching for that something more to connect with beyond this physical existence. And of all the numbers, the 7 is the most likely to have psychic abilities. Doesn't mean no one else can, but they are most in tune with those gifts, and be highly intuitive. So that's a 7. Now, interestingly, have I got it written down here? Yeah, your karmic lesson, which isn't a bad word, but your lesson for your life is a 7. So it's the one energy.
The journey I'm on, right? That is the journey I'm on, like literally.
Yeah. Because so it's your most challenging. It's not your challenge number. That's a different number. It's your it's the lesson you have yet to learn. Is that curiosity, the bigger picture, psychic abilities.
That's what I'm working on. Like, yeah. I don't, again, it's like I've just started coming into this whole, hang on a minute, maybe we can all do that. And maybe I need to, and in order to do that, I need to pay attention to it, because obviously it's like learning a piano, you've got to practice it. And so like, if I'm going to learn to see an aura, or I'm going to learn to have more than, I've definitely got clairsentience, I absolutely have. But if I wanted to learn a different Claire, then I'd have to.
You're 6, so I'd expect you to be.
But I'd have to work on it. But I think, is there potential for that? And when you say karmic lesson, to me, what that means to me, the way that kind of translates in my head is what literally what I'm kind of here to play with in this incarnation or whatever.
Exactly. That's exactly it. It's the lesson that you've yet to learn. It's the energy you're yet to bond with, to make friends with. And the other thing about a 7, which is interesting because of you've got this soul sort of 3 going on in this life path 5, is a 7 likes to be with people, but recognizes I need time, I need my space, I need to recharge, much more in tune with that. Now I never understood that. I'm a birthday 7, so that's what I've always had in me, and I love being around people, but I definitely need to recharge. And I think lockdown has definitely given me a really obvious experience where I've realized I'm more introverted than people would think I was, because actually I've not been that bothered by not being around a lot of people. I like this, I like connecting. I wouldn't like to be isolated in without tech. That would be a different ball game. But tech's allowed me to connect in a way, but I'm able just to step back and just do that. So that's what it is. People think karmic's a bad word. It's not a bad word. In this sense, it's about, in this lifetime, in this existence, this is the lesson you are yet. It's the only lesson, by the way, you've got. I had no lessons.
Does that mean I'm an old soul? Does that mean I've been here for a lot of cycles and I've learned a lot?
Not necessarily. I mean, no. I'm a life path 9, so 9 is all about letting go and learning the lessons of letting go, and being there for others and stuff. And some say it's like the end of the number, because from 9 we go back to 1 numerologically. But I kind of, personally, I don't go that far into it, because I don't want to know if this is my last go. I like the idea I'm coming back and I'm doing some more stuff and having more fun and creating more stuff. So I kind of don't believe that we disappear, but I definitely believe that when we come back into this earth, this is nothing to do with numerology, this is just my personal opinion, is that when we come back, we choose the experiences we want to have. We choose the lessons and the lives and the styles and whatever it is, and the time zones that we come back in, is because, well, we want to give that a go. Let's go have some fun in that play part.
That's the way that I mean, this took me a long time because I thought it was all rubbish. And I think as I go through these podcasts, I'll explore this with people a little bit more. But I mean, I want to be brief because I want to ask you a couple more questions. But for me, like the way I see it is kind of like you do get a choice, and you don't die. You know, you embody a physical experience, but this is like a bodysuit. The spirit is the spirit, and then you kind of finish this one and go, oh, what do I fancy? What challenges? What game can I play next? Kind of thing. That's almost how, because I think we take a lot too seriously. I think that really this life experience doesn't have to be serious. Not that serious things don't happen. And that's something as part of the human experience that we learn, and we learn to have an emotional maturity over, but that generally speaking, it can actually be a little bit more fun. So I
think that I don't know who the quote is, so I don't even want to research it, but there's a quote that's along the lines of, we aren't physical beings having a spiritual experience, we're a spiritual being having a physical experience, and that's it. That is what we're here. And I think for me, because I said that right at the beginning, I had an issue with the word healer, because for me, my limited beliefs are a healer is quite physically based or quite mentally based, and actually the work I do is not in that area. So I don't want the word healer to give the wrong connotation about what I am.
That's in the word, not the word itself, almost.
Yeah. But I have to look at my plan and go, Sam, you're a 9/6. Everything about me is healer. Healer the world.
As a word that kind of associates with that. So that's probably just your own.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's a limited belief. So I have to make friends with this word. I'm working on it. It's a bit one of those things.
Right, a couple of questions I wanted to ask on numerology, because this is amazing, but I think we could talk all day.
Yes, I'm a good talker, so yeah, carry on.
Just a couple of questions, which is what the first one is, because you said obviously this is not set in stone, but my numbers are my numbers, right? You know, what if I wanted to be a 1? What if I wanted to be a Steve Jobs? Is that like, you can't be, I'm sorry, you just don't have that personality?
No, so what it says is, well, first of all, if you really wanted to, you could change your name to bring in that energy of a 1, because it's a number that isn't in your chart. Now, I don't have a 4 or a 3 or an 8 in my 7 numbers. There are other ways to get numbers, by the way, but in my 7 main numbers, I don't have those numbers. And I'm always joking with my mentor, all right, so I can't plan, I can't manifest, I'm not good with money, and I don't know how to connect with my inner child, and I'm not very good with words because it's not in my chart. And that's just not true, because, and this is where it's really important, is we have free will. Okay, you're life path 5. If you wanted to go and work in a cubicle, and I'm being very stereotyped, and you wanted to be a number cruncher in a cubicle, you could go and do that. You could harness that 4 energy. The reality is your 5 eventually will go, get me the hell out of here, because this isn't who I am. So you can do anything you want. You want to go be a Steve Jobs, you go be a Steve Jobs. My understanding and viewpoint is there will be resistance along that way, because that's not who you are. You know, it's, you might,
so your authentic self is basically going to fight you if you,
you're going to have that internal dissatisfaction, that disconnection, you know, and that's where people
I don't think I am ever going to be a Steve Jobs, by the way, because like I want to go and like do other stuff, but the question was basically just that kind of, you know, I can see me, if I was arguing this, if I was fighting it and I was trying to find a battle against numerology, saying I don't want to be put in a box and I don't feel comfortable with that. And it's like, if you tell me that this is me and that I've got like, you know, it's
that's
like
exactly the language of a 5. That's what I'm going to say to you, but that's your 5 language literally coming out through your mouth right there. Do not put me in a box. Even in an example situation, you're using that language. And this is it. Do you know what? This is all about guidance. I had my astrology report done. I love astrology, and I'm a Cancerian through and through. My husband is a Virgo through and through. It drives us both nuts about who each other is. We love each other dearly. But for me, numerology is slightly more, for my brain, is more accessible. I can look at that and it's easier for me to work with. I don't have to understand lots of planets and stuff. I just have to read this and go, right, that's who I am. But astrology, numerology, oracle cards, tarot, whatever it is, ultimately it's information. You choose what you do with that. You find comfort in it and you go, actually, that feels right. I'm going to flow and see what happens. You know what? That's not been working. Let's give this a go and just see how much it is. But it will be bumpy, because it's when you're in balance, that's when it'll flow. If you're out of balance with your numbers, so if you're 8, if you're a life path 8, and you're starting to money grab and be internal and this and that, you're out of balance. That's not going to be a good experience until you find that balance. So this is, in an ideal world, if you're in flow and you're really utilizing the energies of these numbers and the energy of today, because the day is an 8 day, and you've got angels for that day, and we're in a 3 month, you know, you can layer it, then you will flow and life will be amazing. But do you know what? If you wake up and have a crappy day, you've woken up and had a crappy day.
That's true. That's true. And it's not a perfect art, I suppose. No. But listen, thank you so much, because this has been so interesting for me just as an opener. And I think that, you know, if I was going to summarize this, what it sounds like to me is that it's a really, whether or not, you know, it's like whether or not there's a real science to it or not. And I do believe that everything is constructed of maths, and there probably is, but that's something to delve into another time. But what I really take away is that it's a really good guide, mentor, teacher. When you're going, I need someone to just tell me if I'm doing something right or if I'm doing something wrong, it's a tool, it's an opportunity to be able to gather data and say, okay, this looks right. And then probably, if you're one of those people like I am, to be able to feel whether that holds your truth. Would you say that represents it?
I mean, the way I use it is, a lot of people come to me because they're curious and they get it. Some will read it and shove it in a drawer, some will run with it. I've got a lot of people who have had it and then gone, right, do you know, I get it, I can see that, but I can feel a lot of resistance. And then the healing element comes into it. That's like, help me really get to know me, because actually if there were a 3, I hate being the center of attention, and you're telling me that I should feel so, but I've always had a problem with it. Well, let's explore why you've always had a problem with it and see if we can unlock it. So for me, a numerology reading is about given a tool, a piece of paper on a PDF that I send you that gives you an insight. It shows you your potential. And then with me or with somebody else, you can then, or by yourself, you can then unlock that potential because you now have the knowledge of what you are capable of. And and actually I'm looking for a new career. I don't know what career I want. Well, let's look at what number you are and then see where that sits and resonates with you. And it's just another window to look through. It's up to you what you see on when you look through the window.
Perfect. That's great. That's amazing. Thank you so much. This has been awesome. Thank you for being patient with my technology. And no doubt we will be talking again, picking up, maybe finding some more topics, because obviously we've tip of the iceberg, but that's really what this was about today, and it's been so fascinating. So thank you. And if anybody wants to find Samantha, there'll be links to Sam's website, socials. I'm going to do a bit of a write-up on some of this stuff, so there'll be plenty of information, and hopefully we'll be able to add things, stories, etc. So there'll be plenty for people to pick up on. But if you want to find Samantha or know more about what numerology is and how it can help you, there'll be a link somewhere in the blurb around this, or I'll stick it on screen so you'll know where to go. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hannah. It's been an absolute
bye-bye.
And happy birthday for tomorrow.
Thank you. Exciting. Okay, take care.